Saying goodbye to a beloved pet is one of the hardest things we'll ever do. When I recently lost my service dog, Susie, what happened in her final moments brought me a peace I'll never forget. If you're grieving a pet or have ever wondered if they knew how much you loved them, I hope this episode brings you comfort.
Welcome to Dial Up Intuition, a podcast that invites you to awaken and expand your intuition. I'm your host, Kat Sanders. I was a radio and television broadcaster before a massive brain hemorrhage caused me to flatline. That life-changing event led to a beautiful near-death experience. And when I came back, I returned with some profound truths and the ability to connect with the other side. In this podcast, we'll explore these truths and learn how to strengthen your intuition and intuitive gifts. You'll hear conversations with remarkable intuitives who'll share how their gifts came alive, evolved, and became part of their daily lives. So whether you're just beginning your intuitive journey or you're ready to go deeper, this is your space to be inspired, guided, and reminded that your intuitive gift was always within you. So let's begin and dial up our intuition together.
If you love animals as much as I do, today's episode may bring up some emotions. It certainly does for me. But I hope that you'll stay with me, because by the end of our time together, my hope is that your heart feels just a little bit lighter. I'd like to tell you about someone very special. Her name was Susie. Susie wasn't just my dog. She was my service dog, my constant companion, and one of the greatest gifts I've ever received. Many of you know my story. After my brain hemorrhage and near-death experience, I struggled with panic attacks for several years. Life had changed overnight, and there were times when I wasn't sure I could just trust my own body. Susie always knew. Long before anyone else realized I was becoming anxious, she would quietly come to my side, lean against me, or place her head in my lap. Somehow, she just knew exactly what I needed. She grounded me. She comforted me. She reminded me that I was safe. She became my little guardian angel here on earth. As the years passed, we developed a bond that words can hardly describe. And if you've ever loved an animal deeply, you know exactly what I mean. They just become part of your soul. A few months ago, I noticed something wasn't right. And as a medical intuitive, I could actually sense what was happening inside her body. I prayed I was wrong, but deep inside, I already knew. The veterinarian confirmed my worst fear: cancer. Not just a little cancer. It had spread quickly throughout her whole body. She was tired, and she was hurting. And I knew I was about to face one of the hardest decisions any pet parent had to make. Before the veterinarian came back into the room, I sat quietly beside Susie. I communicated with her the way I had so many times before. I told her how grateful I was for everything that she had done for me. I told her how deeply I loved her. Then something happened that completely broke my heart. She told me she wasn't ready to leave. Not because she was afraid, because she was worried about me. She still wanted to protect me. Even though she was in pain, she believed I still needed her. She wanted to stay in case I ever had another panic attack. Can you imagine that? Even while suffering herself, all she could think about was taking care of me. That's the kind of unconditional love animals give us. So I gently explained something to her. I told her she had done such an incredible job helping me heal, and that I hadn't had a panic attack in years. I was okay. She had fulfilled her mission beautifully. Now it was her turn to rest. I promised her she could visit me in my dreams. I promised her that my love for her would never end. And as I spoke these words, I felt her relax. She simply said, "I'm tired." There was no fear, only peace. I kissed her goodbye, thanked her for changing my life, and asked the veterinarian to come back into the room. Later that night, something extraordinary happened. My mother, who is now in spirit, came to visit me. She showed me Susie nestled safely in her arms. She showed me that it was as though she was saying, "Don't worry, I'll take care of her until you get here." And then she showed me something I never expected. Susie's soul was the very same soul as my childhood dog, Laddie. When I was a little girl, Laddie taught me what it felt like to be loved by a dog. Decades later, that same beautiful soul came back into life as Susie to help me heal after my brain hemorrhage. If that isn't a soul contract, I don't know what is. Different body, same soul. When I woke up, I wasn't overwhelmed with sadness anymore. I felt peace. And ever since then, every once in a while, I'll feel Susie jump up onto the bed and curl up beside me in exactly the same place that she always slept. Now, I can't see her, but I know she's there. That experience reminded me of something I learned during my near-death experience. Love doesn't die. Bodies die. Souls don't. And that brings me to something I know so many of you struggle with: guilt. If you've ever sat in a veterinarian's office holding your best friend's paw while making the impossible decision to help them pass peacefully, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Maybe it happened last week. Maybe it happened 20 years ago. But sometimes the questions never stop. Did I wait too long? Did I make the decision too soon? Could I have done more? Did they know how much I loved them? These questions haunt us because we're looking at death through human eyes. But after my near-death experience, and after years of communicating with animals, I believe our beloved companions, they see it differently. They don't measure love by how many extra days we manage to squeak out and keep them alive. They measure it by how we loved them while they were here. Every walk, every belly rub, every game of fetch, every late night emergency, every special treat, every hug, every tear. They knew. They knew they were loved. Animals live in the present in a way that most humans have forgotten. They don't spend years worrying about what other people think. They don't compare themselves to neighbors. Then they don't carry resentment. They simply love. And perhaps that's one of the greatest lessons they come here to teach us. One of the most beautiful lessons I learned during my near-death experience is that every living being is a soul. When I was on the other side, I saw animals. They weren't separate from us. They weren't lesser than us. They were simply souls, just like we are. That experience forever changed the way I look at animals who share our lives. I no longer see them as pets. I see them as companions, teachers, family, souls who agreed to walk beside us for a little while. I mean, think about it. Out of billions of people on this planet, somehow our paths crossed. I don't believe that's an accident. I believe our animals choose us just as much as we choose them. They arrive with their own purpose. Some come to teach us patience. Some come to teach us joy. Some remind us to laugh. Some help us heal after heartbreak. Some give us the courage to keep going when life just feels impossible. And sometimes, like my sweet Susie, they quite literally save our lives. They don't care what kind of car we drive or how much money we have. They don't care what we accomplished today. They simply love us completely, unconditionally. What an incredible gift. And as our animals grow older or become seriously ill, something else begins to happen. Their souls begin recognizing their work here is almost complete, and not in a frightening way, not with fear, simply with the quiet wisdom that their physical body is wearing out. I often think of the body like a car. The soul, that's the driver. The body is simply the vehicle. And eventually, the engine begins to fail. The tires wear down. The vehicle no longer works the way it once did. But that driver, the driver is still alive. So when that vehicle can no longer carry them, the driver simply steps out. The soul continues, and that's exactly how I view death. When we help a beloved animal pass peacefully, we aren't ending their existence. We're releasing them from a body that can no longer support the beautiful soul inside. That changes everything. Many people tell me they feel guilty because they believe they gave up. I don't see it that way at all. I believe choosing to let our beloved companions go peacefully may be one of the greatest acts of love we'll ever perform. Think about what you're really doing. You're choosing to carry the pain so they don't have to. You're willing to take on that grief, the loneliness, the empty house, the second guessing, the tears. You absorb all of that because you love them more than you love keeping them here. That is a betrayal. That's selfless love. And I know one thing about animals, it's this. They know your heart. They always have. They never measured your love by one final decision. They measured it by thousands of moments. The walks, the games, the vet visits, the vacations you planned around them, the birthday treats, the blankets you tucked around them, the nights you stayed awake because they weren't feeling well. They noticed all of it. They knew. If your animal could sit beside you today, I don't believe they would ask why you let them go. I believe they'd thank you. Thank you for loving me. Thank you for giving me a beautiful life. Thank you for putting my comfort ahead of your own heart. Thank you for letting me rest. And I also believe they'd want one more thing from you. They'd want you to stop carrying that guilt, because guilt keeps us focused on that final day. Love remembers all those years that came before it. When I think of Susie now, of course I miss her. There are still moments when I expect to see her lying in her favorite spot. Sometimes I still reach down without thinking, because that's where she always walked beside me. But more often now, I smile. I remember the thousands of little moments that made our journey together so extraordinary. I remember the panic attacks she helped me through, the comfort that she gave me, the way she always knew exactly what I needed. And every once in a while I'm laying in bed, I still feel her curl up against me exactly where she used to sleep. It's a gentle reminder that love doesn't disappear simply because we can't see the one we love. It's still there. Our connection is still there. When I was on the other side, I saw animals. I know they continue. I know they love us. I believe they're cheering us on just as much as our loved ones in spirit are. I think she brought Honey, who, by the way, looks so much like her. I believe she helped me find her at the animal shelter to help me heal. So if you're grieving today, please be gentle with yourself. Release the guilt. Keep the love. Talk to your beloved companion. They can still hear you. Thank them for everything they taught you. Live a little more in the present moment. Laugh a little more often. Love a little more freely. In other words, live the way they taught you to live, because perhaps that's the greatest way that we can honor them. Not by staying trapped in our grief, but by carrying forward the unconditional love they gave us every single day. Love never dies. It simply changes form. Thank you for spending this time with me today. And if this episode brought you comfort, I hope you'll share it with someone whose heart may need it too. And until next time, keep listening to your intuition. Keep leading with love. And remember, the souls we love are never truly gone.